The night deepened as they walked further, and the air grew heavier, carrying with it the unmistakable scent of rain. Clouds had gathered silently, cloaking the stars, and the city's hum softened until it felt as though the world itself was holding its breath. June and Soo-yeon slowed their steps, both aware of the shift in the air, yet neither willing to speak of it. Their hands remained linked, their steps careful, as though moving too quickly might shatter the fragile reality that had brought them back together. A sudden drop of rain splashed against Soo-yeon's wrist. She glanced up, startled, and then laughed softly, a sound so delicate it pierced June's chest. "It's starting," she murmured, tilting her face toward the sky. June followed her gaze, watching as the first drops scattered across the pavement, darkening the concrete like scattered ink stains. Within moments, the drizzle grew heavier, the rhythm of falling water surrounding them in a curtain of sound. They stopped beneath the awning of a closed bakery, the faint smell of old bread and sugar lingering in the air. The rain fell harder, cascading off the roof in glittering streams. For a while, they simply stood there, listening, the storm wrapping around them like a song only they could hear. Soo-yeon hugged her arms around herself, her eyes fixed on the rain as if afraid to look at him directly. "Do you remember?" she asked suddenly, her voice trembling. "That day by the bookstore, when it rained so hard we couldn't go home." June's lips curved into a faint, bittersweet smile. "You refused to run. You said the rain would feel different if we let it fall on us." His voice softened as the memory unfolded between them, a shard of the past brought alive by the storm. "I thought you were crazy, but then, standing there with you, I felt like the world stopped." Her eyes glistened as she turned toward him, her breath catching at the raw tenderness in his expression. "That was the first time I realized I was falling in love with you," she whispered, almost too softly to be heard over the rain. June froze, his chest tightening. For years he had imagined what she might have felt, what she might have left unsaid, and now the words reached him with the force of everything they had lost. The rain grew heavier, splashing against the pavement in restless rhythm. June stepped out from under the awning, letting the water soak into his clothes, running down his face. He tilted his head back, closing his eyes, as though surrendering himself to the storm. Soo-yeon stared, torn between laughter and tears. "You'll get sick," she called, her voice breaking. But June shook his head, his eyes opening to meet hers across the falling rain. "Then come with me," he said softly. For a moment she hesitated, fear battling against longing. Then, slowly, she stepped out into the rain, the water drenching her hair, clinging to her clothes, but none of it mattered. She stood before him, trembling, and for the first time in years, they faced each other without walls, without masks. June reached up, his fingers brushing a strand of wet hair from her face, his touch achingly gentle. "I spent so many nights waiting," he confessed, his voice rough with emotion. "Every time it rained, I thought of you. I thought if the rain could carry your laughter, maybe I'd hear it again." Her tears mingled with the rain, indistinguishable yet unending. "And I thought of you every day," she admitted, her words spilling out as though she could no longer contain them. "I thought of your photographs, of the way you made ordinary moments feel eternal. I held on to that when everything else felt empty." They stood in the downpour, drenched, their hearts laid bare. It was not dramatic, not cinematic. It was quiet, fragile, the kind of scene that lived in the small spaces of memory, where unspoken emotions and subtle gestures carried more weight than words ever could. June let out a shaky breath. "Soo-yeon, do we still have a chance?" The question hung between them like lightning, sharp and dangerous. She pressed her hand against his chest, feeling the wild rhythm of his heart beneath her palm. "If we're brave enough," she whispered. "If we choose each other this time, no matter what." The storm raged around them, but in that moment, they were untouched. Their closeness was not in kisses or grand declarations, but in the way their souls leaned toward each other, desperate yet tender. June's hand tightened around hers, his voice steady though his eyes shone with tears. "Then let's choose it. Let's choose us." Soo-yeon's lips parted, a sob breaking free, but her eyes carried light now, not just sorrow. She nodded, pressing her forehead against his, their breaths mingling in the cool rain. They didn't need more. This was enough. The recognition, the promise, the fragile but unyielding hope. The rain softened gradually, easing into a gentle drizzle. The storm had passed, but its memory lingered in every droplet that clung to their clothes, in every heartbeat that echoed between them. They began to walk again, side by side, their pace unhurried. For the first time in years, the silence between them was no longer heavy. It was comforting, filled with the unspoken vow that they would no longer walk alone. As they passed the cherry blossom hill, June slowed, his eyes tracing the trees, even in their bare autumn state. Soo-yeon followed his gaze, her lips curving faintly. "Spring will come again," she said softly. June looked at her, his eyes steady, his voice resolute. "And this time, I won't be standing there alone." The city stretched before them, uncertain, daunting, yet somehow filled with promise. Their shadows fell side by side across the wet pavement, fragile but unbroken. The night no longer felt like a burden. It felt like a beginning. And though neither spoke of it, both knew that after years of silence and loss, their story had only just begun.